Hi, I'm Alexis Hutchinson, and you've tuned into the Parent Student Panel. We're having to do it a little bit different than we usually do with our orientation due to it being canceled for COVID. Yay. Today I'm here with Miss Amber Phillips, and why don't you introduce yourself, give a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Amber Phillips, and I am the first year experience program facilitator here at the college. So I coordinate the tutoring services that are provided through the WIN Center, among some other things. But I'm excited to be here today and answer some questions that a lot of our students have expressed they have concerns about and are just curious about, so we can get them squared away.
Absolutely, and I'm Alexis Hutchinson. I work here with the FY program as well. I'm a first year success coach, and so that means the first year classes, new students, all that. We're here to make sure that first year goes right and that you feel confident and comfortable, which is why we're here today, giving you all this glorious information. So we're also here with Miss Susan Cooper. She's a little bit off camera. She is the director, and she's going to be reading the questions we've compiled that you sent via email, text, all kinds of great stuff. So if you're wondering what that disembodied voice is, that's her. She's wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're just going to go back and forth and see who knows the answer best, tag team it, add on to what we say, and just do a real casual.
Okay, let's get started. As Alexis said, I'm Susan Cooper, the director of the FYE program, and we've had several questions that have been sent in, so let's just take off with the first one. Am I required to wear a mask if I come to campus?
Sure, I'll take that one. So students are required to wear a mask whenever they come to campus. Students are allowed to touch base with Teresa Brown in the Office of Student Accessibility if they have a documented disability of some sort to work out a various accommodation, but students are required to wear a mask on campus in order to be in the classroom, obtain services through any of the student support services offices, things of that nature. So students are required to wear a mask whenever they are on campus.
Yes, and I do believe that they're offering face shields, which are kind of a little bit different than the mask format. So if you, like Amber said, have a documented disability, you can touch base and see if one of those is available.
Okay. Is there anything fun to do on campus?
Sure. I mean, it depends on how involved you want to be, of course, but there are always events going on. Now, we can't speak to how that's going to look in the fall. We're, campus-wide, we're still working to try and offer a lot of virtual engagement and a lot of fun things that you can do where you don't have to necessarily be on campus. But typically, we have holiday events. Every club usually has some kind of event, be it a meeting or an event that they host. There's a masquerade ball usually. Lots of really fun things that you can do. And then there's a lot of fun that just happens day to day in offices and with different programs. I know that the WIN Center hosts things all the time, and I'll let Amber speak a little bit more about that. But Student Support Services hosts workshops, lunch and learns, all kinds of really great things. So, yeah.
Sure. So as an example, even within the WIN Center, a lot of the workshops and lunch and learns that we offer are geared towards anything that students have expressed interest about or they just have needs on. So it'll range from anything from individuals with a bound credit union, representatives from the credit union coming here and educating students about financial education, to Goodwill Cars to Work coming here to help students that are having transportation issues. And then another day we may have something that's just a little bit more upbeat and fun, and we'll have some prepackaged foods available to students. We have free coffee in the lift, things like that. So sometimes it's just a little bit more of a gathering where students can stop in, grab a snack, socialize a little bit, get any type of help that they may need. So there's a variety of things on campus. And the big thing too, even at a community college like this, is if there's something that you're interested in doing, something fun that you would like to get started here on campus, you have the opportunity to do that. So if there's something that you're really interested in and you see, hey, this is nowhere here on this campus, or I don't see this anywhere, no one's talking about this, go ahead and take the initiative to get something started. And if there's ever anything like that you're wanting to do, feel free to touch base with anybody in the FYE program, and we'll help you get connected with the right people to get that started.
Absolutely. And another really great opportunity is the Lift Lounge. A lot of times there are fun things happening in here. We do the Week of Welcome, which we're going to try and do more of in the fall, and a lot of other things. So definitely stop in the ATV building. There's always something going on.
And to add to that, with the COVID, some of this may look different, particularly at the first part of the semester as we start. And as you know, things change daily with COVID-19 So a lot of the things may be virtual, but we will let you know when something is going on virtually that you may want to participate in. But we will try to our very best to have some student engagement, even virtually if need be. Okay, next question. What is an advisor?
An advisor is an individual that assists you with not just registering for classes, but they help you with everything from assisting with financial aid questions to kind of mapping out your degree plan going forward with you. It's a good point of contact for even things like, hey, where do I start if I'm interested in applying for some scholarships? So an academic advisor should really be your first point of contact whenever you're in need of about any type of assistance, because they can refer you to the other programs on campus that may be able to help you a little bit better. So prime example, if you're a student and you, let's say, maybe didn't qualify for financial aid, you're in need of some scholarships, and maybe at the same time you're really struggling in your math class. If Alexis was your advisor, it would be smart on your behalf to go ahead and set up a meeting with her, touch base and say, hey, this is kind of where I'm at. I'm doing really great in all these classes. I'm really struggling in math, and I really don't know how I'm going to pay for my classes next semester because I don't have any more financial aid, and I don't really know what to do about that. Alexis can say, hey, you need to touch base with the WIN Center for tutoring. If you're in need of some scholarships, here's the website you go to in order to apply for those scholarships. So your advisor you should really view as your first point of contact just to help you get started, and they can point you in the right direction if you're actually needing to speak to an individual with some other offices. It should not just be the person you meet with once a semester, literally just to register for your classes. That should not be the only time that you're interacting with your advisor, because your advisors are wealth of knowledge, and they can really help you with a variety of things. So you need to be proactive in trying to meet with them and touch base with them and build a relationship with them, because they can point you in the right direction on a lot of other things that you may not even have known would have been a good opportunity.
Right, and usually the way we set the advising up at Ectc is if you are in the FYE 105 class, then one of our success coaches, some of the people that are talking right now, will be assigned to you as your advisor, and you will stay with them the first year. Then you will be transferred to your program advisor. So if you're going into nursing, for example, you will be given an advisor from the nursing department. Then if you are not taking your FYE 105 class, maybe you're in a technical program or some AAS program, then if you're a new student, your advisor more than likely will be someone in the advising center in the RPC building, or you'll go ahead and be assigned a program advisor. But every student here should be assigned an advisor, and you will find that in your student self-service out of MyPath. Next question. If I need to drop a class, how do I do that?
So dropping a class is pretty easy. You just want to go into your student self-service and see if the class is still listed, make sure everything on there is right, and then you would speak with your advisor, and that person can give you more information on how to actually drop the class. I believe, do they do it themselves, or are they not allowed to do it themselves?
So students can do it
That's right.
themselves, I think, up until after the second full day of classes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do it up until, like, for instance, fall classes start August 17th. So at the end of the day on August 18th, as a student, you could still drop your class, or an advisor could help you. But after that, you can no longer drop your own class. You would have to work that out within advisor, basically, to submit your own request. But students can do that up until then.
Yes, so you are able to do that yourself. Doing it with your advisor is always really good to kind of touch base as well. It's just what I was kind of talking about. Is it's good to talk with somebody and say, how is this going to affect my financial aid? How is this going to affect aid that I might receive later? Is this going to put me on SAP? Lots of different things to consider. So before you drop the class, it's always good to kind of touch base with your advisor or somebody else who's knowledgeable and kind of say, I'm thinking about doing this. How is this going to affect me long term? Things like that.
Okay, the next, actually it's two questions, but we're going to roll it into one. Is tutoring still offered on campus for the fall semester? And what resources are available to online students like tutoring, advising, etc.?
Great question. So, as the coordinator for the WIN Center, we have tutoring in general education courses, and we also have it in program-specific courses. And we offer tutoring on campus or in person as well as online. So you are more than welcome to utilize either one of those methods, whichever works for you. So prime example, we have some students that maybe will have transportation issues and they're taking all of their classes all online. And so the only option for them is online tutoring. That's not a problem at all. So we have tutors in math, biology, chemistry, anatomy and physiology, English, you name it. So we will work out with you a day and time that works for your schedule and also aligns with the tutor schedules for the hours and days that they are working to either meet on campus in person in the WIN Center or online using Blackboard Collaborate, Zoom, etc., any other platform basically that works best for the tutors and the students, then we utilize. So typically, anytime a student is in need of tutoring, they need to contact me via email. They can shoot me a text to my Google Voice number or call my office number and let me know what subject area it is that you're really struggling in or which class it is, and then I'll get you set up with an appointment with a tutor and I'll send you the contact information that you need to log in to the online session if it's an online session. But don't think if you're a student sitting at home and you're an all-online student and you can't make it to campus for tutoring, that tutoring is not available to you, because that is false, and we're here to help you.
So is the WIN Center the only tutoring option for ECTC students?
No. So the WIN Center is open and available to all ECTC students, but we do have other programs on campus as well that provide tutoring. So TRIO, Student Support Services, or SSS, they also provide tutoring services for students that qualify for their program. So if you are a first-generation college student, if you have a documented disability and or if you have limited income, then you may be eligible to be able to receive services through that program. And if that's the case, then you can receive, math, English tutoring, etc., and all the classes that they have tutors in that they would be able to help you. We also have the Educational Excellence Center on campus that provides tutoring. We have the Smile Lab on campus, which provides specifically math tutoring. That's their focus. And we also have a full-time writing tutor on campus, Miss Yvonne Morris, and she can assist with anything, writing, English related as well. So there are plenty of tutoring resources available across this entire campus. So if there's ever a need whatsoever for any type of tutoring in any classes, you have a lot of outlets to be able to touch base with to try to find a tutor in that area.
And it's not just tutoring, there are resources for advising. The FYI program advisors are always open and available if you have questions or you would like to check on something or you're not sure about something. We also have a Google Voice number that you can text, and all that information will be included in the email that you get sent, including this video. So definitely check that out. The Google Voice number is always available. If it's 10 o'clock at night and you're sitting in your PJs and you're like, I don't know if this class is for me, I'm really wanting to reconsider, something of that nature, shoot a text to the Google Voice number. We're always available. We're not going to answer at 10 o'clock, but when we come back and we check that Google Voice, we check it every single day, multiple times throughout the day. Somebody will get back with you and give you the information that you need. And we're also working on a podcast, which is why we have this glorious equipment, that you can tune in as well, as we're trying to provide you as many virtual engagement opportunities as possible. That's FYE Talks. I'm not going to give a ton of information about that because it's still in the works, but definitely check in because that's going to be an excellent, excellent thing. I think that you're really going to enjoy it.
Right, so pay attention to your email because you'll be getting notices on that or on social media. I advise everybody to go on Facebook, Instagram, and follow the ECTC, the FYE Lift, and the FYE WIN Center, because we'll be posting information on that daily, several times a day usually. So in the tutoring, I heard you mention a lot of different things. Is there one place that a student can go and where that individual works with all of the different tutors that can direct them to the best resources, for example, for their particular situation?
So if a student is in need of any type of tutoring, they just need to stop into the WIN Center and see me, and I'll direct them appropriately as far as which tutor to meet with, what days and times to meet with them, and also if there's just a lot more than just tutoring. Tutoring may not be the only need that you have, Or you may not even realize, hey, that there's a tutor available in that subject area that you're really struggling with. But anything like that that you need assistance with, just stop into the Win Center and see me, or send me an email, call me, text me, and then we'll go from there and connect you with the right resources that you need.
And another great thing is tutoring doesn't always just mean academics. I believe that you have people who could read over a resume, a cover letter.
Right.
If you are filling out, some kind of application for something and it's very important that it's done well, scholarship essays, all that kind of stuff, the Win Center does offer those services as well.
And that's a great example, too, to kind of build off of that. We had some individuals that contacted us that wanted help reviewing their program applications for the allied health programs. So, like if you're applying to the nursing program and you just want somebody to read over everything you have written as far as your letter of application, by all means, let us know. One of our writing tutors was looking over that just to better assist them and make sure that she didn't have any, grammatical errors or anything like that. She wanted it to be very professional and to a T. So if there's anything like that, feel free to let us know and we'll help.
Okay, next question. I do not have a computer at home. Is there a place I can come on campus to work on my online classes?
So there's actually computer labs located all around campus. With the social distancing, obviously it's got a limited capacity from what it would have normally, but the Lifts Lounge has 2 open computers that can be used if you would like to work on online homework or if you need to submit something or whatever the case may be. I think pretty much every building has at least one computer lab that you can find, and is free, it's open, you can print, you can do everything that you need to do in there, and get any kind of assistance. Somebody's usually manning that computer lab, monitoring it, so if you have a question, they can direct you and help you.
And we do have some of those labs that are open extended hours as well. So like even in the lift, we're open extended hours until 6 p.m. For the fall semester. So if you get off work at 4:30 and you need to go somewhere to be able to work on that, Blackboard assignment or even complete that proctored exam online, or timed exam rather, then you can stop into the lift and use the computer lab here, or even in ATB, I believe it's room 155 down the hallway. They're open a little bit later as well, and they're open on Saturdays in addition. So feel free to stop in and use those.
Absolutely.
Next question. I need to purchase equipment in order to take online classes. Will COVID-19 funds be available again for students to be reimbursed for laptops, etc.?
So my understanding was for the spring semester, students that had impacted, they were already taking classes starting in January, and then when classes were shifted and moved online, if they had to purchase something for that spring semester, then they were eligible for those COVID-19 funds. For the fall semester, I'm not sure if it's looking to work the exact same way. I know a big portion of those funds have been depleted for those students that were in the spring semester, but at this time, I'm not really sure how much is left in that funding and what it can be utilized for the fall semester. However, my understanding was that Michael Barlow was kind of the point of contact as far as those applications and things like that for that funding. So it may be that if you have additional questions on that, touch base with him in the financial aid office to complete the application to see if maybe you qualify for some of that funding.
I think to qualify for that funding, you had to be a student in the spring of 2020. Supposedly, Congress, you may have seen on the news, is working on another package. It appears that the word is that there's going to be some money in that package for education. We have no idea what kind or anything, so I would not depend on that starting out in the semester. It could be that something is worked out, and there will be some more funds available for that, but right now we just don't know. So to be safe, you probably don't depend on that.
And check your email. That's kind of you'll hear us say that 1,000 times, but really any information about that is going to be disseminated through your email. And so it's really important to kind of be paying attention to the subject lines and things like that, and who's sending it, to make sure that if those funds in that application become available again, you're kind of one of the first people to see that email and get on that.
And something to keep in mind too is that you can use financial aid money to pay for a laptop as well. So if you qualify for let's say a full Pell Grant and a CAP grant, and maybe you had KEYS money, then you are more than likely going to have some extra money because your tuition is probably not going to cost that much if you're taking 12 or 15 hours. So if you have some leftover money, you can use that to buy a laptop from the bookstore if you wanted to as well. So I know some students, have those questions at the beginning of the semester too, so they can look to that.
Well, it's also good to kind of stop into different offices and say, this is the problem that I'm having. What can you do for me? What, different programs do different things. It might surprise you how some of them are able to kind of look into community-based services and things like that and maybe find some help and assistance for those kinds of things. But we never know until we ask.
Speaking of email, how do we know if the email received from someone on their school email address is a scammer or actually someone from the college?
So can't stress enough how important cybersecurity is as a college student. It's terrible, it's so sad, but a lot of companies and people and things like that prey on college students. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Financially, they want your social security number, they want your student ID number, your bank account number, all kinds of different things. And the scams are creative. Long gone are the days that, somebody would call you on the phone and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and, I'm stuck at a bus station, and I need you to wire this check back to me, and things like that. They're a lot more creative now. So I think this is an excellent question. There are different things to look for as far as scam emails. You want to make sure that the person who is sending you that email has an email address that makes sense. So if you get any type of correspondence from somebody here on campus, 99% of the time it's going to come from an @kctcs.edu email address. If somebody emails you from a Gmail, a Yahoo, a Hotmail, whatever the case may be, that's a little sketch. Everybody, all staff members and faculty members here are issued a KCTCS email for confidentiality and encryption purposes. We are, highly encouraged to only reach out, to you through that avenue. Now, there are exceptions. The Win Center has a Gmail that you can send papers to and things like that. But you will always be notified if that is going to happen. If an advisor says, well, I'll send this to you via my personal email, you can trust that that's a little bit more legitimate. But as far as just receiving an email out of the blue from a nondescript email address, definitely double check. Don't open attachments from emails that are very sketchy. So if an email has very poor grammar, if the fonts don't match, if there's all kinds of different symbols and colors and just not a normal looking email. So most of the time people are going to start with good morning, insert message, thanks, whoever it is. If you have an email and half of the email is in caps, the other half is lowercase, there's no punctuation, there's nothing like that, then that's another red flag. A lot of times when you get scam emails, they're set up this way. And so if you're seeing that and you're like, why is this person talking like, they're a robot or they're not understanding what I'm trying to say, something like that, definitely double check. You can report any email to the IT department here on campus and they will double check and see if it's a phishing alert, spam alert, and they will send out a notification campus-wide. So if you see something, it is always, always, always in your best interest to forward that to somebody that can then forward that to them, or just go straight to them and say, this person sent me this email, I don't understand what it's about, and then they can, send out a notification saying, don't open this email, because likely if you have questions, other students have gotten the same email and they also have questions. And, it can be very easy, especially because a lot of these emails prey on the fact that they rush you, they scare you. That's a huge thing, is you are never going to receive an email from this college that says, you have 2 days to give me your bank account information for your bank mobile and your social security number, or all your classes will be dropped. Like, that is not from this institution. That is nothing. No one will ever ask for any type of personal information. Now, your student ID number, your advisor might say, hey, can you send me your student ID number so I can look at your schedule? But they're never going to ask for your social. They're never going to ask for your driver's license number. They're never going to ask for your bank mobile information, none of that. So if they're pressuring you, if somebody is telling you, you've only got hours to give me this information or something drastic will happen, that's not true. If there is an issue with your financial aid, with your account, with your schedule, whatever the case may be, somebody from the college is going to reach out in a very polite, very, concise manner and say, hey, this happened, let's figure it out. And more than likely, they're going to tell you to come on campus and see them or give them a call. So that's kind of my tips.
Yeah. And even stemming off of that too, I think probably one of the most common phishing emails or anything of that nature that students will get are related to a part-time job opportunity.
Yes.
They know college students are looking to make money and that most college students are struggling to make ends meet. So oftentimes a lot of them will say, part-time job opportunity. basically you want to be a nanny for 3 kids and make $5,000 a week. It will be something atrocious in terms of the amount of money that you're making or something of that nature. So any of those, 99.9% of the time, false. So just go ahead and delete them or ignore them. Yeah.
If it sounds too good to be true, it's
More than likely
unfortunately
is.
nobody's gonna pay you $40 an hour to walk a dog unless
Right.
that's Bill Gates, and he's got somebody, so we don't gotta worry about it. So yeah, just be, if you don't know and you're not sure, ask. That's kind of the greatest thing,
Right.
and you don't have to send it straight to IT. If you're in contact with one of the FYE members here, you can forward that to one of us and say, got this super sketch email, not really sure what it's about, it's freaking me out, and then we'll do our best to investigate that to the fullest and say, okay, this is a scam, this isn't legitimate, you don't need to worry about it, or it is. And because sometimes outside institutions like Bank Mobile or something will send you something and you're like, I don't know what this is really about. Definitely ask somebody. Definitely, if you're the least bit suspicious, don't open attachments, don't respond to it, just ask.
Here's another question that kind of is a follow-up to some of that. It's actually 2 questions. Are there any programs that can help me choose a career or help me get a job on campus? And the next question, is there anywhere to work on campus?
So as a student, you might be eligible for a federal work study, depending on what your income need is. So when you fill out your FAFSA application, it will designate whether or not you qualify for federal work study. And if you do, then you may be able to work a certain number of hours on campus, up to 20 hours, depending on what your need is. So if, let's say, you come from a family and there are 5 other kids in the home with you and 3 of them are going to college and mom and dad make less than $40,000 a year, you're probably going to have a really high need in terms of how much money you need for college. So more than likely you would be eligible for probably quite a few hours of federal work study, maybe even up to 20. So if that's the case, then you could apply to work in a certain office or program area, something like that, on campus. But there are students that qualify for federal work study that actually work somewhere in the community as well. So that's an option. I think in years past, they've even used places like Goodwill and some other, different types of maybe nonprofit related businesses here within the community. So if that is something that you're interested in, I would touch base with the financial aid office and see if you qualify for federal work study. Additionally, you can simply work in an office on campus just as a temporary worker. So even if you don't qualify for federal work study, that doesn't mean you can't work in an office on campus. If, let's say, you were really interested in working in the lift, then you would need to touch base with one of the FYE staff and say, hey, I would really like to work in here. Do you have any openings, or could I apply to work in here? That type of thing. So those are the 2 big ones. You may be able to get a job on campus as a temporary worker or as a federal work study employee. Is there anything else I'm missing there off the top of my head in terms of employee?
Well, as
I
far
will
as
say,
opportunities?
starting out the fall semester, the federal work study, we have jobs on campus, and typically there may be placements off campus. But starting this fall semester, because of COVID-19, we have been notified that they will not be placing any federal work study students at an off-campus site, because we just don't have that control over that, to make sure it's safe for our students. But we will still be having students on campus to do jobs. So I think that's it. I think we covered that.
Well, as far as like careers, like how do I find a career? Who can I talk to kind of sort that information out? There's actually a lot of people here on campus who do that kind of work. We do have a career services department, and that is run by Kaylee Buchanan, and she's fantastic about helping you navigate that. She has different programs that she uses and things like that you can meet with her and go through to see if, I'm thinking about this major, what careers fall under that and things like that. And also the FYE staff can work with you and do that as well. We do career exploration in the FY 105 classes, and so we can definitely bring it into the office and say, okay, what are you thinking about? What interests do you have? Here are some career options that might be good for you, exploring how that looks in Elizabethtown and other communities and things like that. So if you're unsure, somebody is here to help you and kind of guide you on that path.
And stemming off of that too, that's great. Take time to figure out career-wise what it is that you are wanting to do around the lifestyle that you want. So I don't know how many times I think even just as the FYE staff will have students that will say, hey, I really want to be an orthodontist. or, you know, a dentist, whatever, and think that they can get that entire degree here at ECTC in 2 years. And that's not the case. That takes more advanced education beyond what ECTC provides here because we're a community and technical college. So look into the amount of education that it takes for whatever career field it is that you're interested in. And then also too, you know, we'll have students from time to time say, well, I would like to be able to make this amount of money per year, but they're selecting a career that really is not in line with that. So weigh all those different types of things, and I'm not saying it's all about money, but if you're wanting a certain type of lifestyle, or you want to be able to work a 9-to-5 type of a job and not ever work a weekend, you know, or anything like that, taking that into consideration when you're looking at all these different types of job opportunities to see what type of lifestyle you want and align it with a career that you're choosing. Take the time to do that. And another thing is, we'll have students oftentimes that will say, I've been pulled, I'm thinking about this, but I'm kind of thinking about this. Do an internship for a career, you know, area in that. I think in college, I received just as much, if not more, in terms of education from the internships I did over the summer in comparison to even some of the classes that I took on campus. So that's a great opportunity to network and get your foot in the door for some of those different types of industries like that. So you can learn a lot from completing some internships over the summer with different companies to see if that's something that you're possibly interested in doing career-wise.
Well, and it's also worth noting that it's like, if you are very confident, say you have wanted to be a nurse since you were a child, you know, you had the teddy bear, you had the little doctor's kit, you're like, nursing is for me, or teaching is for me. It is always worth going to somebody who can help you explore that and have them sit down with you and say, do you actually want to be a nurse, or do you just want to help people? Because here's what that looks like. Do you actually want to be a teacher and have to go and do your master's and all that, or do you want to educate people? Because, you know, it may be part of a job appeals to you, but the other parts of it that you haven't really thought about, you're like, that ain't for me. And it's much better to come in, you know, your first semester, even though you're gung-ho, you're sure, meet with somebody and say, you know, I'm sure, but can you give me more information? Or, you know, these are some things maybe you haven't thought about. And, you know, because I went in and I was like, I want to be a teacher. That's all I want to do. I just want to teach. And then I went to a middle school. I don't want to teach anymore. You know, I'm much more suited to the college environment or social work or something like that. I was able to redirect my path, thankfully, before I got so far into it that I couldn't turn back. And so I like to give people that bit of advice is, you know, part of a job can appeal to you, part of a career, a major can appeal to you, but then taking the entirety of it, the time, the money, the, you know, residency, the licensure, whatever the case may be. So it's always worth sitting down and talking to maybe one of the programs here and saying, okay, realistically, what does this look like? Or with somebody, so.
And just that job outlook too. Are there going to be positions in that? You know, there's a very low percentage of a need for an individual with a PhD in folk studies.
Yes.
So before you spend copious amounts of money on something that's probably not going to give you a great return, like explore those options.
Yes. And we're not saying, you know, you can't do the thing that you want to,
Right.
or you're wrong or anything, but I mean,
Take all things into consideration.
It's very possible that, like we said, one part of it appeals to you, but maybe there's this other career that you haven't thought of that all parts of it appeal to you. So.
Okay, next question. It's 2 questions we'll put together. Where do you think a good place to study is on campus, and is campus easy to navigate?
Well, I'm a little bit partial probably to the Wynn Center just because that's the program and everything that I'm working in all the time. So I think the Wynn Center is a great place to study if you're wanting somewhere quiet. Another thing, we have a lot of students that will gather and make little small study groups in the lift together. So feel free to stop in and do that as well. We also have the library on campus. There's some different lobbies around campus as well, like in the JSO building. There's a few little kind of pockets in between classrooms with some sofas and chairs and things like that, so students can kind of just stop in and make themselves comfortable and study in as well.
Oh yeah, there's student lounges spread across campus in different areas with a couple chairs set up so students can go. The RPC building in the atrium area has, I think, a couple tables set up so that students can meet. So yeah, just whatever class you're building or whatever building your classes are in, kind of take some time to look around and see kind of what spaces are set up. I'm partial to being outside, and there are many, many picnic tables and things like that that you can sit at and study with, spread throughout campus, and we benefit from having a very beautiful campus, a very well-maintained campus, so I encourage you to get outside.
Okay, what can I do to prepare for a placement test?
Study.
Yeah.
So we do offer tutoring, as Ms. Amber said, many, many subjects. You know, if you're having to take a math placement test, see Amber. If you're having to do your English reading, whatever the case may be, see Amber. And so she can kind of give you more information about what that would look like.
Sure. So there's a variety of different programs online too that are practice exams for some of those types of placement tests. Are very similar. So if you are needing to retest because you were going to have to take Math 61 based on your ACT score, and you really would like to try to get out of that developmental math class and go straight into college algebra, then by all means touch base and we'll see about getting you even some practice exams and then some tutorings in those math content areas before you take that placement exam to hopefully get your score up a little bit higher so you don't have to take the remedial math.
And that's the thing, if you find that you took the placement exam, you didn't get the score that you want, all hope is not lost. Come and see, Amber and some of the other tutoring centers on campus and see if you can maybe score a little higher. I believe the first one is free, and then the next one is like $7, so relatively inexpensive, and I think it's worth, maybe trying again after you've had some help and some guidance and seeing if maybe you can score a little bit higher, because all that means is you save money. The fewer classes that you have to take to get into the credit-bearing classes, or even skipping some of those credit-bearing classes, it's always worth it.
Whom can I talk to if I have a question that I need answered right away?
Us.
Yes.
If you need something answered in a very quick fashion, the good thing about the FYE program is that there are several of us in it. So we have Susan, Alexis, myself. We also have Miss Pam Best. So there's 4 of us here that are available to be able to help you in a pretty quick fashion. Wild thing is too, I think we work probably absurd hours, and so we're all over the place. So by all means, feel free to shoot us a text, and you may send us a text at 9:00 at night, and we're fixing to wrap it up, and we'll see it before we go to bed and text you back. Don't be alarmed if we don't within 5 minutes. We will answer you. Every email and every text message, phone call, etc. that we get, we will answer. So by all means, feel free to touch base with us, and if you need something done quickly, then let us know. And if it is a case where one of us is out of the office, again, that's a good thing. Why there's 4 of us, so we have other people that can be able to fix the issue pretty quick for you, even if one of us maybe isn't in our office that day.
Absolutely. So I think it's definitely worth saving everyone's contact information because,
Absolutely.
Maybe one of us is busy, maybe one of us has something. I teach a class, Amber does a lot of other Essential Skills Academy, a lot of other programs on campus. So we are out of the office occasionally, but there's always at least one person or 2 people here who are going to see what you need and help you quickly.
And sometimes we go to lunch, but we return. Yes. So even if you need something at 11:30, we will be back.
We'll come back.
There's a reason we always do events with food. We all really like to eat. So.
Okay, this question. I've never taken online classes before. It's actually about 3 questions, even one. I've never taken online classes before. How do I access Blackboard? That's one question. And if the instructor does not answer my email or phone call, who do I contact to answer my question?
You want to do the Blackboard? I'll take the other.
Blackboard is a wonderful, wonderful tool. It's incredibly frustrating. I will never say it's not. But as far as kind of keeping everything together, making it easy, Blackboard is, in my opinion, pretty easy to navigate. It just comes from practice. So every student has a student email and a password that they create to log into their MyPath account. So your MyPath is kind of like your Facebook homepage. It's got links to everything you would want to look at. So in this example, there's your courses, your organization, your calendar, your grades, things like that. That would be like your photos, your friends, pages, things like that. So if you're looking at it, when you log into MyPath, you go to the Ectc website, you click Current Students, there'll be a tile if you scroll down that says MyPath. Click on it, input your student login information, and then that's going to take you to MyPath, which has a bunch of different boxes, tiles, whatever you want to call it, for everything you would ever need as an Ectc student. So Ectc is fantastic in that they have condensed all of their websites, pages, emails, all that kind of stuff into one unit, and that is MyPath. So when you open MyPath, you'll see Blackboard, your email, your student self-service. If you're a work study where you can log in and see your paycheck and do your time, anything like that you can find on MyPath. And Blackboard, like I said, is one of those tiles. So it's relatively close to the top, so you just click it. That's going to take you to another page, and that's going to be your Blackboard shell, your Blackboard webpage, excuse me. So when you get on Blackboard, there'll be a ribbon to the left, a series of boxes, and they have all of the things that Blackboard feels you as a student need access to. One is your courses. That's the most important, arguably, because that is where you're going to access all the courses you're enrolled for that use a Blackboard shell, which I would venture to say is 99% of the courses here on campus have some use of a Blackboard shell. They may not put things on it, they may not, use it for homework, but they've got videos, handouts, that's where they post announcements, things like that. Then there's organizations. So as an FYE student, for example, you're added to the online tutoring organization that we've created, and that's where you would go in and kind of see some of the workshop videos Amber and her program have been working on, maybe get in contact with a tutor, submit something, things like that. Organizations are not courses. You do not turn in homework there, you do not submit things that are like assignments there. It's purely supplemental programs you've been added to help you. You can view your grades for all your classes you're currently enrolled in this semester in an easy-to-view format. Blackboard's even really nice and color codes your grades. Red if you're not doing so hot, yellow if you're kind of on the edge, and green if you're doing well. It will view all the points that you've accumulated or percentages depending on how your professor uses it. But returning back to the courses, that's kind of the main thing. So when you click on courses, you will see a couple different boxes pop up, and those are your classes. And those classes are where you need to turn in your homework, where you're going to access your professor's contact and things like that. So it's very in your best interest to get on there and click around on everything that you see and kind of familiarize yourself with where things are. Because though Blackboard will look the same every single time that you log in and you click through it, when you get into the instructor shells, which are those boxes, they're called shells, that's up to them. They can set that up however they choose, however they feel is best for your success, and it could look different. So familiarizing yourself with the shell and what it looks like, where are my assignments, where do I go for tests and quizzes, things like that. That's all in your best interest. So go on there, click through it, look through, email your instructor if you have any questions, and if your instructor, as the next part of the question says, isn't answering you, Blackboard has a messaging feature. So you could shoot them a message on there, and that might be what they're checking. Or you can always contact somebody from the FYE, and we can help set you straight and see where you need to go and who you need to get in contact with.
Sure. And so then stemming off of that, if the other question, Susan, was relating to your advisor not answering, correct?
Instructor, this question pertained basically to the instructor.
Okay.
Not answering a question about the class is the way it's worded.
Okay, so first thing, I would definitely give them the opportunity to answer it. And I say that because sometimes, especially revolving around maybe an assignment, we'll hear where a student will send an instructor an email, and if they haven't answered in 30 minutes, then the student is concerned. That's okay. They may be teaching a class that takes an hour and 15 minutes, and they'll be back at their computer once that class is over that they're teaching. So give them 24 to 48 hours to answer most emails. I think a 24-hour turnaround time is good for as many emails as a lot of individuals get. So give them the opportunity to answer it. If several days have gone on and your email still hasn't been answered, and it's not like they had an automatic reply where maybe they were out of the office or anything like that, feel free to touch base with an FYE staff member and let us know, and it may be something that we can assist you with or kind of facilitate with you. So be sure to just not let it just end there if you're needing help and say, oh, well, I didn't get a response from my instructor, so that's that. And then it be something that is going to end up basically making you fail the course or do quite poorly in it. Don't just end with that. You have to keep going even if you aren't getting an answer from the instructor. So touch base with an FYE staff member again, and if it's something that we can assist you with, then we'll do our best to do so, particularly when it's relating to just maybe the way an assignment is structured. So we have enough tutors that have taken so many classes across this campus with so many different instructors. A lot of our tutors can say, hey, I've taken that exact class. I know what's expected of that assignment. Here's exactly what they're wanting from you. And that they can kind of go from that. So again, if you're not getting a response from your instructor, don't let it just die there and end there. Feel free to please let us know.
Well, and everybody's human. I mean, online classes, the caps are much higher. There could be 50, students in a class. So you're not the only one who has a question, very likely. And so if you're seeing that you've sent an email, you've waited, you're not really hearing an answer, sending a polite follow-up email is always a good idea. Just saying, hey, just checking in, seeing if, you can answer my question kind of thing. I think instructors really appreciate when you kind of do that as opposed to, running to someone else and saying, hey, this person didn't answer in 20 minutes, what do I do? You know,
Right.
not that there's any problem with coming to somebody else. If you can't reach that instructor, you do need to reach out to somebody else and say, I have tried, I have sent a follow-up email, I've done what I can. But you want to give people a realistic amount of time to answer. Even the FYE staff, you know, we don't always get it in 20, 30 minutes. So instructors have a lot of responsibilities, they have a lot of things going on, so they're just like everybody else. So you want to give them a little bit of time.
Okay, next question. When can I register for next semester, which would be spring 2021?
October 1st, I believe, is always the beginning date to register for the spring classes. So that's a great example. Like I had a student that emailed me probably about a month ago and said, I need to register for fall semester classes and next spring. Well, you can't technically register for spring classes yet because those haven't been posted yet for viewing. So right now, you can register for fall classes up for several more weeks, actually, particularly into those bi-term classes. So you have plenty of time for that, and then for the spring semester starting October 1, then you would be able to meet with an advisor to sit down and go through the classes that you would need to take for the spring semester, or even over the phone or via email, however it is that you choose to conduct your advising. But I really recommend don't wait until October 15th to try to schedule an appointment with your advisor to get registered in your spring semester classes as well. So we had, quite a few students that we were working with last fall semester for advising, and I think my whole month of October was booked with on-the-hour advising appointments for almost the entire month before probably like the end of the third week of September. So I always encourage students like, hey, once the semester starts, if you know who your advisor is, go ahead and reach out to them and say, hey, can I go ahead and get on the docs for October 2nd, at 3 p.m. to meet with you. Don't wait until, several weeks in to try to say, hey, I want to meet tomorrow, because more than likely if your advisor has, 75 students that they're working with, that may not work. So be proactive about setting up an appointment early if possible.
Well, and also the thing is, classes close. They do
Yes.
close, and it's not just that them closing and not existing anymore, but if you have an instructor preference, you think, oh, this instructor, worked really well, I want to take more of their classes. That all depends on getting in there early, or I can only come to campus in the morning. I want morning classes. Those tend to fill up pretty quickly. So, if you have preferences, it's always better to be one of the first ones to make sure that all those preferences are being met, because, as we get later into the semester, maybe some of those will be full and they won't be available anymore.
Okay, and this question kind of follows up with that. How easy is it to get in contact with a financial aid individual or an advisor, etc.?
I think it's relatively easy to get in contact with about
Yeah.
anybody here at ECTC. We all have contact information. All of it is posted on the ECTC website. So depending on what your issue is, you can look that up on the website, and you're always going to find a contact listed. If you have questions, there will be a phone number and email, things like that you can email, text, call, whatever, and say, this is my issue, who can help me? So I think it's relatively easy.
And I will say, as far as the financial aid representative, if you're needing to speak with financial aid, if you're wanting to send them an email with anything, be sure you're sending it from your student ECTC email account, because if they're coordinating with you any type of financial aid information, they won't send that to a personal email address. We have a lot of students that ask questions about that because they will email us, the FYE staff, off of a personal Gmail or Yahoo account or things like that. But if you're working with a financial aid office on anything, be sure that you're using your student email account, because they will request that it come directly from that. That way they know it is you and it's not from anybody else.
Harkens back to that cybersecurity and making
Yes.
sure that, the email is valid and that it's who they, like you said, who they
Yeah.
said they were, so.
Okay, next question, and I know we have some students that are in this situation. My ride to campus is my mom. She drops me off in the morning and does not pick me up until after she gets off work, which is after 5 o'clock. Is there a place I can hang out and study after my classes? Next question. Is there a place to buy lunch on campus? I would not have a ride to get lunch otherwise.
So as far as studying, you could just stop in at the lift if you wanted to. You could stop in at the Wind Center, sit in the lobby, as far as being able to just hang out and work on some homework or study. As far as lunch options, we'll have prepackaged snacks in the lift from time to time that you could stop by and grab a snack. But culinary's doing a few things,
Yes.
I think.
And that depends on the COVID situation and how they choose to do that, so we will definitely have more information about that closer to when classes start and things like that, knowing if they will be able to offer any kind of lunch boxes or something like that prepackaged. It just depends again on COVID restrictions and guidelines and keeping everyone healthy and safe.
And they do have a few prepackaged snacks as well in the bookstore. So once the bookstore opens back up, you could stop in there and grab a bottled soda as well as maybe some yogurt or a packaged sandwich, things like that. So feel free to use that resource as well.
And there are vending machines scattered around campus. I mean, it's not the healthiest, it's not the greatest choices, but if you just need kind of something to get you through the end of the day, a little sugar, whatever the case may be, there are vending machines spread around campus. So
I will add to that. I noticed last semester some of our students taking advantage of DoorDash
yes,
and some of those type of things, and having food delivered up at the lift for their lunch. So that's another option as well. If you're stuck on campus with no food, or if you wanted to bring your food with you, we do have a couple of refrigerators in the lift in the wing, and we would be happy to stick your lunch in there for you. You could come by and pick it up too. That's also available.
there are many student lounges around campus that kind of have microwaves and other facilities to heat your lunch up or cool it or whatever. So if you find that you're going to be here all day, it's always best to kind of plan ahead and say, okay, this is what I've got. But don't think that, you don't have any options. There are options for, bringing lunch, having it delivered. I think most of the delivery places around town are familiar with the college and kind of how it's spread out. So that's not usually as complicated, saying, I'm in this building, meet me outside or something like that. So
Most of the pizza places in DoorDash and I know are familiar with the lift because we have lots of
burn
food.
that Papa John's.
That's right.
They got no question where we're at.
Okay, this is kind of 3 questions that have to do with the same thing, so I'm gonna just throw all 3 of them out there. What clubs are available for students? That's 1. What are some student engagement activities I can get involved in on campus? That's 2. Second question. And are there networking opportunities on campus? So we'll kind of put all that into one.
Okay,
All of the above.
sure.
There are opportunities on campus for networking. The
Essential
work-
Skills Academy
Yes,
is the
kind
first
of
thing I
biggest
think
one.
of.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let you give more information about that.
Okay, so the Essential Skills Academy, or ESA, is a partnership with Goodwill Works, where we have program facilitators with Goodwill that actually come to campus and provide 2 different workshops for students that go over the different types of soft skills that you need to be successful in the workplace. And in order to participate in this academy, you have to apply and be accepted to that program. And that's an application that we make available to students at the very beginning of the semester. So students can complete that application, submit it to one of the FYE staff members, and then we will notify you if you've been accepted to that academy, and then you can participate in those workshops. Additionally, we have a networking reception with community members and employers at the end of the academy, where you basically get to try to get your foot in the door for some of these local businesses and connect with some of these people that are CEOs of businesses here within the community or that have done very well and been successful in their career. So it's a great opportunity to network, and meet some of those people that may be able to hire you in the future. When you complete that academy, then you actually get a certificate that you can put on your resume to help set you apart whenever you're applying for various jobs, and you also receive a scholarship as well as a few other goodies. So that's something to keep in mind, and it's a great networking opportunity. Another thing too, we have so many different lunch and learn workshops, seminars, and things of that nature where we bring in a lot of community speakers. If you attend those, it's a great way to meet some of those presenters, find out what they did in order to be successful, or how they paid for college, or how they got to where they are today, because those workshops are a little bit more of an intimate setting. So it's a great opportunity for you to be able to ask some of those one-on-one or more intimate questions where a community presenter can really kind of tell you, hey, this was my experience, and be a little bit more open about things with you than what they would be if they were presenting in the community in front of 200 people or something of that nature. So that's something I always keep in mind as well.
Well, they're always bringing opportunities on campus. If somebody works with a program and you kind of throw out there, I'll be a recent graduate soon, there's no reason why you can't kind of approach that topic and say, is there any openings? Is there, what's going on, with your program or with your subject, your career field, whatever the case may be. You know, we bring in people from all kinds of different careers and fields and, you know, medical, business, agricultural, just all kinds of different things. And, you know, that provides you a really great opportunity, like Amber was saying, to have somebody more one-on-one than you would at a conference or something like that, where you would more likely meet that individual. And just the work study, the temp work, that provides, I can't explain the great opportunities. I started as a work study here when I graduated high school and, you know, worked my way up to a full-time position, and I don't think I would have ever done that working at like McDonald's or something like that. Not that those places aren't great, but the college, with everybody being here and so many different departments and programs and funding sources and things like that, it does provide a lot of opportunities. So can't speak highly enough of work study and all the different things that can come from that, and taking advantage of that, and just speaking with your instructors, you know, friending your instructors and saying, you know, I want to do what you do, or I want to have the same experiences that you had. How can I do that? Your instructors are more than willing to help you and guide you. That's kind of what they're here for. So, you know, those little things that may not seem like they provide opportunities will provide you with some of the greatest opportunities that you could have here, career-wise, experience-wise, internship-wise, things like that. So can't speak highly enough about it. Talk to people.
And in terms of the clubs, there are several clubs
Yes.
around, and you'll probably be, you know, you may see emails and different things about that. The one we're most familiar with, of course, is the FYU Student Club, and they're the ones that will be doing the student podcast called FYU Talks, and you'll be hearing more about that as well. But there are other student clubs, student government. There's
There's
a lot
student
of
government. There's a creative writing club that is popular here on campus. I believe somebody had mentioned starting a Lego club, so be on the lookout for that. Just all kinds of different things. And the best part is, if you want a club, if you see, you know, oh, I think this would be really neat, and you and a couple other students agree, talk to somebody, reach out to an instructor and say, I want to start this club, and they're very receptive to helping you do that. You know, all you need is really support from one instructor who says, you know, yeah, I'll sponsor that, and you could start a club on just about anything that you'd like to see here on campus, and very likely a lot of other students would enjoy it too.
okay. This question is, if I decide that online classes are not for me, will it hurt my financial aid in the future if I drop?
Well,
That's a case by case
yes,
basis.
it really is, because if you start in, let's say, 5 classes, and 3 of those classes are on campus and 2 of them are online, and it's your very first semester as a student here at Ectc, and you've never taken an online class before and you don't know what it's about, if you were to drop those 2 online classes within the first 2 days even that the semester starts, that'll never show up on your transcript. It will look as if you never even were enrolled in those classes initially. But if you wait to a certain point in the semester and drop those classes, then it will show up as a W on your transcript, meaning that you withdrew from that class. And it may affect your financial aid because it factors into your completion rate. So how many classes are you successfully completing and passing based on how many that you're taking? So it's going to look at that percentage. So again, it really is a case-by-case basis, just like you said. It's important to really check with financial aid. If you're receiving financial aid, check with their office before you drop a class to know how it will affect you, as far as whether or not it will put you, in a potential, academic probation type of setting.
Well, I know if you drop a class before a certain amount of time, you may have to pay back the funds as well.
Yes.
That's another thing to take into consideration. Is why we mentioned earlier with dropping a class, it's very important to reach out to other offices, your advisor, make people aware of what you're thinking so that they can check and make sure that's not going to, drop you below a certain amount of completion to where you have to file a SAP appeal or some of the other pitfalls that you can fall into.
And to follow up on that, I would say reach out to your advisor, if nothing else, reach out to one of us in the FYE. We're going to help you get through. We're going to help you learn to do the online classes and help you get through those. So I would avoid dropping classes at all costs unless it is done the first week of school,
Mm-hmm.
because chances are it will have some type of impact on your financial aid or your future financial aid. are transfer advisors on campus where I'll be able to talk face to face with them next semester?
Historically, they've been on campus in previous semesters, and usually it's on a rotating schedule where maybe, let's say, an advisor from U of L is here maybe twice a month down in the advising center, and then students could schedule an appointment with that transfer advisor to sit down with them for maybe an hour to go through some of those classes. For the fall semester, I do think some of those transfer advisors are only working virtually based on the information that I've received. However, there may be some that are still coming to campus in the fall. But what I would recommend is if you're wanting to sit down with a transfer advisor, then touch base with Tori Murley, who is our transfer coordinator, and her office is located in the advising center. Touch base with her and say, hey, I would like to meet with UK's advisor or Murray State's or whoever it is that you're wanting to potentially meet with. Just let her know, and she can tell you, hey, yes, this is what that transfer advisor will be doing, and then be able to help you with setting up that schedule or that meeting.
Okay. This question is going to be about 3 questions in one. Is ECTC comparable with other schools in Kentucky like WKU or UK? It's the first one. Do you really save much money going to ECTC as opposed to starting at a university? Is the second question. And does your campus offer dorms and housing of any kind? That's the third question.
Okay.
So to kind of start from the end and work the way towards the front, we do not offer any kind of housing on campus. We don't have dorms, we don't have any student residence, anything like that. But if you're having trouble finding housing, affordable housing, things like that, there are programs on campus where people can explore that with you and kind of take you through the process of maybe applying for something like that or just seeking it out in the community, things like that. So if you ever have a need, very likely if the campus itself does not offer something to, help with that, many people know somebody who can also get you connected with community resources. So it's definitely worth reaching out.
Sure. And that is something to keep in mind. Anything like that that's a barrier as far as with your education, then touch base with a staff member on, because we can connect you with a lot of community resources that are available in that capacity. That's not a problem at all. And so then stemming off of that, what was the second question again, Susan?
The second question is, how does ECTC compare to other schools like Western or UK, and do you really save that much money going to ECTC as opposed to going to a university?
So in terms of saving money, absolutely, because if you're not living on campus, you're not paying those dormitory costs that are associated with that. Oftentimes when you're attending a larger college or university, when you're required typically to live on campus, at least the first year, oftentimes the first and second year. So you're looking at, $500 a month for living typically is a pretty good average for those larger universities. And another thing with that is that most of the time they require you to have a meal plan if you live on campus, which oftentimes is several $1,000s or a few $1,000s. So that's something to really keep in mind. You're eliminating all those costs whenever you attend a community college. Not to mention that just tuition itself is cheaper. You're paying a lot less per credit hour here at ECTC than what you would at a larger college or university. I was actually speaking to an individual the other day that graduated from ECTC that specifically told me he had taken classes at, I believe it was 4 other colleges and universities in addition to ECTC, and he said the classes that he took at ECTC were by far the most difficult in terms of prepping him for the workforce. He said he was far more challenged by those classes at ECTC, but in a good way, as far as, just prepping him for everything that he needed to know in the future. He said some of the other classes that he had taken at some other colleges and universities, he didn't get as much out of them as what he thought he would based on the amount of money that he was paying. And he said it was really discouraging, to think that I was paying this much money for some of those classes and really not getting any more out of it. But where I was getting the most value all along was where I was actually paying the least. And so he just really had a lot of great things to say about the college in terms of that piece. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Well, and the reality is you're paying, at ECTC, you're paying for a seat in a room with likely 30 or less students, give or take. At a university, you're paying for an auditorium seat with 150 students. So the amount of interaction with your professor, the amount of resources you have access to, universities have great resources, not saying that, but as far as like one-on-one availability, a community college offers that, in a large amount. Most places, most programs, things like that, has a one-on-one component, whereas a university, that's a little bit harder to find because of the sheer number of students who are there. ECTC is, in my opinion, extremely affordable. I was going to go to Western as a first-year student with not a lot of scholarships. I was super gung-ho about it. Got there, got the bill, dropped out the next day, couldn't afford it. And so, coming to ECTC, it was such a relief that my tuition was paid for. I wasn't going to have to take out loans for that. I could afford my books, things like that. So it let me focus on what was important, which was the academics and, learning the information and getting ready for a bachelor's degree. Whereas, I feel like if I had stuck it out, taken out those loans first, done all that, I would have been a lot more worried about my financial situation, and it very likely would have impacted my academic performance. And so ECTC really does take out a lot of the, what am I going to do? How am I going to afford this? Because it is an affordable option, and there are so many different programs like Work Ready, Ready to Work, things like that, that really want to ensure that money and affording college is not a barrier and is not going to keep you from doing the best that you can do here. So.
And the last question we have, the student wants to know, do you think getting a college degree is really worth the time, money, and hassle?
Yes, and not just because we work at a college.
And I think a big part of that stems as far as what career field you're going into. So a good example with that would be if you came here and you completed an associate in applied science degree in a technical field, you are going to be able to get a position with that degree and with that skill set primarily that you have just obtained that may equate to $80,000 a year when you're 20 years old if you started right out of high school. That's huge, and that's really good money for someone with not extensive education, but still a degree and some level of education, and again a skill set that is very applicable to a need that we have in the community. So that's also something to really keep in mind. But again, I think the statistics really speak for themselves in terms of the more money that you can make over the lifetime of your career with the more education that you have. But a big piece of that as well is looking at, hey, what career field are you going into? And that's something to really keep in mind when you're selecting that career field.
Mm-hmm. And even if, continuous education, a bachelor's, a master's isn't for you, there are so many technical programs that, having a degree, yes, isn't a requirement, but it puts you ahead of the competition where, if 30 people are applying for this job and you only need, a high school diploma, if you have that degree, not that it, necessarily makes you more skilled, better, whatever, it definitely prepares you and gives you, maybe skills and things like that that put you just that much ahead to getting that job over a lot of other very well qualified candidates. And so just little things that go along with college that might not seem like a lot, but they really pay dividends in the long run, like internships and, programs and different things that you can take advantage of that impact you in the long term. There's a lot of national honors organizations that, when people see that on your resume, they're like, hey, this person, goes above and beyond. They really work hard, whatever the case may be. We have Phi Theta Kappa here on campus. Things like that really go a long way towards giving you the life and the lifestyle that you want. It really helps. It's always kind of that ace in the hole that says, if I don't want to do this, I've got this degree, I can go and do something else, and it's just very beneficial.
Sure.
Okay, so that wraps up our Barron student panel that really just has staff panel with student questions.
Yes.
But that's part of COVID. So if you have additional questions, feel free to text us at 502-219-3417. And we will get back with you. I'm sorry. We'll get back with you with an answer for that. So we're going to sign off and just want to welcome everyone to ECTC and good luck on a very successful first semester. And again, feel free to reach out to us with any question or concern you might have.
Absolutely.
We're a lively bunch. You'll enjoy us.
Yes.